Welcome, everyone. If you're gearing up for your O-level exams, consider this explainer your absolute ultimate guide to mastering Surah AlAnam, verses 101 to 103. We're specifically focusing on Islamiyat 2508, Paper 1, Question 1. Okay, let's dive right into this, because we're going to break down these really beautiful verses, understand their deep theological meaning, and most importantly, extract exactly what you need to write those top-tier exam answers.
Right, so here is our roadmap. We'll be looking at the historical context, Allah as the primal originator, the absolute rejection of shirk and his all-seeing nature. And then we'll neatly package all of that up to fit your specific syllabus requirements for Parts A and B. Section 1. Context of the verses. Before we get into the words themselves, we really need to understand exactly where and when these verses fit into Islamic history. So, Surah AlAnam is a Makki surah. What that means is it was revealed in Makkah, right before the migration to Medina, around the 13th year of prophethood. Now, why does this matter to us? Well, the early Muslims in Makkah were completely surrounded by idolatry. So the foundational purpose of these verses was to firmly establish Tawheed, that absolute oneness of God, by declaring his divine attributes and totally negating the polytheistic practices of that time.
Section 2. The primal originator of everything. Let's move to and see how this builds, as we step right into the deep theological waters of verse 101. Verse 101 boldly states, "To him is due the primal origin of the heavens and the earth. He created all things, and he had full knowledge of all things." You know, this isn't just about making things. It is this incredibly majestic declaration of unparalleled absolute creation. Literally everything in the universe, every galaxy, every single planet belongs to him because he is the absolute source of the whole shebang.
Now, to score highly on your exam, you really need to use precise vocabulary. The key Arabic term used here is badi'. Badi' means the primal originator, and it signifies creating entirely from scratch. There was absolutely no prior material available and no model or example to follow.
And this brilliantly illustrates the immense power we're talking about here. Just think about the difference between these two words. We often hear the word khalaqa, which means to create, right? But it usually refers to creating from existing materials, like man being created from mud or jinn from fire. But badi, that means creating from absolute zero, nothingness. There was no blueprint, no raw materials, he just willed the heavens and the earth into existence. Section 3. Rejecting partners and shirk. Recognizing that level of absolute power naturally leads us right into the next major theological concept in the surah. The verse poses this really profound, logical question: how can he have a son when he has no consort? Just pause and think about the sheer illogic of this from a human perspective. Why in the world would the primal originator, who literally owns everything and created everything from nothing, need a human relationship? He doesn't need a wife, and he certainly doesn't need a son. Historically speaking, this verse serves to directly negate specific claims of divine offspring. It specifically rejects the Christian concept of Jesus as the Son of God, along with any other historical claims that God took a child. It's just a complete rejection of all forms of shirk. Think about it. If you've created everything, every human, every tree, the entire universe, why would you need a single son to inherit or share your dominion? You just wouldn't. Everything is already his.
Section 4. The all-seeing and knowing. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how verse 103 shifts our perspective from the vastness of the universe down to the limits of our own human senses. Verse 103 says, "No vision can grasp him, but his grasp is over all vision. He is above all comprehension, yet is acquainted with all things." It's such a beautiful and humbling contrast. No matter how hard we try, human vision and human intellect simply cannot comprehend what Allah looks like. Yet simultaneously, he grasps every single vision of every single creature on earth at the exact same time.
The term used at the end of this verse is latif. This is another absolute must-have attribute for your exam answers. Latif means acquainted with minute things. It means knowing the deepest, microscopic, and most hidden details of existence.
Let's compare our human senses to his divine grasp to really wrap our heads around this. When you or I look at the ocean, we just see the superficial surface, right? But Allah's knowledge, he is intimately acquainted with the deepest, darkest ocean trench. When we look at a person, we just see their outward appearance. But Allah, as Latif, grasps the microscopic nervous system. He knows the absolute unseen.
Section 5. Islamiyat Q1a.
core themes. Let's pivot specifically to your syllabus requirements now and assemble exactly what the examiner is looking for in a top-tier Part A answer.
So the crucial point is making sure you hit these specific themes in your essay. First, the overarching theme is Tawheed, specifically described through His divine attributes. Second, you definitely must mention Allah as the Badi, the primal originator, and the ultimate disposer of all affairs. Third, highlight the absolute negation of shirk, specifically regarding partners or offspring. And finally, mention how the passage acknowledges mankind's very weak comprehension compared to His infinite grasp.
A really great way to structure your Part A response is by categorizing these attributes clearly. You can mention Badi as the originator from nothing, explain Latif as being acquainted with the minute details, and note him as Rob, the planner, creator, and sustainer. Organizing your answer around these key Arabic terms shows the examiner you have a deep, highly structured understanding of the text.
Section 6, Islamiyat Q1b, Practical Importance. Now let's transition over to Part B of the exam question and look at how these themes actually apply to a Muslim's day-to-day life.
Recognizing Allah's absolute power naturally leads a Muslim to a much higher state of taqwa, or God consciousness, when you truly realize the power of kun fayakun, that He just says be and it becomes. It completely enhances your sincerity in worship. You realize you should only rely on Him, the disposer of all affairs, rather than seeking help from intermediaries, peers, or saints. And knowing He is Latif, well, that acts as a really powerful shield against hidden sins.
Let's look at how this theology translates into real-world behavior. Step 1. You recognize that Allah knows your wandering thoughts. Even when you're standing there in namaz and your mind inevitably drifts to something else, Allah sees that minute detail. Step 2. It stops hidden sins. When your parents aren't home and you're kind of tempted to turn on a band's TV show, remembering that Allah's vision grasps all things stops you in your tracks. Step 3. Ultimately, this constant awareness makes a Muslim live carefully, following the instruction manual given by the Creator, all to earn the ultimate reward of Jannah.
I want to leave you with this final thought. If the Creator of the entire universe, the primal originator of literally everything you see, is intimately acquainted with the deepest secrets of your heart and every microscopic detail of your life, how will that change the choices you make today? Reflect on that as you prepare for your exam. I promise, not only will your essay answers improve, but so will your understanding of these truly beautiful verses. Good luck studying.